good morning, secured entrepreneurs. This is a jammed-packed July, okay? In this video, we are going to get into this whole Todd and Julie Chrisley situation. You all have been emailing, and I thank you for emailing. Please continue to do so at info@AurorahDayConsulting.com. You all know that Miss Aurorah does not watch television. I do not know who these reality TV stars are, anything like that. So it's up to you to send Miss Aurorah the news, okay? Several of you emailed this article to me. I believe that Simone was the very first to send the article, okay? It did come up on my timeline, so I was aware that this thing was happening, okay? However, you're asking me, Miss Aurorah, please explain the wire fraud charges. Please explain the tax evasion charges, and please explain the fraud charges, okay? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And you all know, secured entrepreneurs, that Miss Aurorah tells you how to go about protecting your business before you open for business, and how not to do, sloppy things. There's some things that people are out here doing that they do not know can be used against them in the court of law. Okay, so for those of you who do not know who I am Miss Aurorah Dey, and this is the Secured Entrepreneur Movement. All right, now, secured entrepreneurs, here is the article that several of you sent to Miss Aurorah. Chrisley knows best, stars found guilty of fraud, tax evasion by federal jury. So now immediately, as soon as I'm receiving this article from several of you, I'm now searching the internet to find out who the heaven is this Chrisley knows best. Who is this, right? So, I go about finding out who these individuals are and exactly what it is that has occurred with these people, okay? So the duo has been standing trial in Atlanta on charges including bank fraud and tax evasions. I said, okay, let's go further. Todd and Julie Chrisley of the reality television series Chrisley Knows Best have been found guilty of fraud and other charges by a federal jury Tuesday, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. Okay, so now I'm like, let me look up these records. Let me see what I can find out, because this is interesting. The duo has been standing trial in Atlanta on charges including bank fraud and tax evasion for the last 3 weeks. The Chrisleys were initially indicted in August 2019, and a new indictment was filed in February 2022. Ms. Aurorah wants to tell everyone that this thing started in 2012. Okay, this is a cautionary business tale, all right? Whenever it is that you are partnering with individuals, you better know these people. I'm not gonna get into that just yet, because I told y'all I'm gonna get into some stuff that this article doesn't say. Okay. According to a release from the U.S. Department of Justice, Todd and Julie Chrisley were found guilty of conspiring to defraud community banks out of more than 30 million of fraudulent loans. Okay, how many times Ms. Aurorah has to tell you all about these fraudulent, loans, many of these PPP loans that you got. Okay, the DOJ added that after the Chrisleys used funds to buy luxury cars, designer clothes, real estate, and travel excursions, they used the new fraudulent loans to pay back old loans. How many of the secured entrepreneurs know this is a very old game? This is not new. This is a very old game, right? After spending the money, the DOJ said Todd Chrisley filed for bankruptcy and walked away from more than 20 million of the fraudulently obtained loans. Okay, that's no good. The couple was also found guilty of tax evasion. Now, many of you were very concerned about what this means, so let's go further. While the Chrisleys were earning millions and evading paying Todd Chrisley's delinquent okay, so the article tells you clearly that Todd Chrisley did owe some taxes, okay? And what do we know about that? What do we know about who owes taxes, right? Okay, so he did. He did owe some taxes, and he was evading, not legally avoiding. He was legally evading a tax event. Okay, back taxes. They also failed to file tax returns or pay any taxes for the 2013, 2014, 2015, and 2016 tax years. How many of you know that this was an investigation that went on for 7 years from the initial report? I'm going to get into that. Okay. At one point, Todd Chrisley falsely claimed on a radio program that he paid $750,000 to $1 million in federal income taxes every year, even though he had not filed or paid his personal income tax returns for years. This was a part of the case that I found really interesting because when you're on this level that we see that you're on, or you're trying to put yourself on, your business is not being handled correctly at all. And why is it that you personally owe taxes? Why were you paying yourself a salary in any way that you would have to have a tax filing, and then you don't file? Now, in most cases that we discuss here, and I can get into some stuff, but I'm not going to do it in this video. A lot of this doesn't even get found out until somebody reports it. It's the moment that somebody is now saying that, oh, this person is doing this, and that the Internal Revenue Service now says, okay, well, let's launch an investigation. Let's take a look at this. Prior to that, all of this stuff is going on. All of this stuff is going on for a very long period of time. Okay. Prosecutors alleged that the Chrisleys submitted fake documents to banks when applying for the loans. They said Julie Chrisley also submitted a false credit report and fake bank statements when trying to rent a house in California. And then the couple refused to pay rent a few months after they started using the home. Okay, now, how many of the secured entrepreneurs know that that's also nothing new? Okay, people are doing this all the time. We know this. Okay. The Chrisleys also previously used a film production company, and I believe that film production company is called 7 Seas. Let me see if they'll get into this here. The Chrisleys also previously used a film production company to hide income from the IRS and keep it from collecting unpaid taxes by Todd Chrisley. So Todd Chrisley is the one who has been out here paying himself. He's been collecting monies in his own name. How many of the secured entrepreneurs know that that's the mistake? That's the number one mistake that entrepreneurs make, collecting money in their own name. What's going on here? The family had moved to Tennessee by the time the indictment was filed, but the criminal charges stem from when they lived in Atlanta's northern suburbs, prosecutors said previously. Okay, now here comes Peter Tarantino. This is their accountant, right? So Peter Tarantino, an accountant hired by the Chrisleys, had also been standing trial with the Chrisleys. He was also found guilty of filing 2 false corporate tax returns. Now, so this is when I really realized that, okay, remember that the corporation is 2 levels of tax. Taxed on the corporate level, taxed on the shareholder level, right? So obviously the Chrisleys, or Todd Chrisley, has a corporation, and there were to be taxes filed on them, okay? And so, okay, he was also found guilty of filing 2 false corporate tax returns on behalf of the Chrisleys company, the DOJ said in the release. Okay, this is when it really gets good now. The jury found that Todd and Julie Chrisley committed multiple fraud schemes for several years, and their accountant, Peter Tarantino, filed false corporate tax returns on their behalf. U.S. Attorney Ryan K. Buchanan said, "This office and our partner agencies will continue to vigorously investigate and prosecute white-collar criminals who flout the law." Okay, see, this was the part that I said, okay, I need to get into the case as to how this thing really went down. I'm gonna tell you all what this article is not saying. Okay. Additionally, Julie Chrisley was found guilty of wire fraud and obstruction of justice. Okay, so one of the questions that you all had was, please explain the wire fraud. What did she do that she has been found guilty of the wire fraud? Well, many of you already know that wire fraud is when you are, it's when you are discussing financial things via the internet, telecommunications, and technology. So basically, what she did was she sent over false financial documents to a bank. She sent over false financial documents to the whistleblower, who I believe his name is Mark Broderick. But I'm going to get Mark Broderick. Yeah, I think it's Mark Broderick. I'm going to get into that. Okay, so that's the wire fraud and obstruction of justice, because she was saying that, it wasn't the case. Okay, so after learning about the grand jury's investigation, the DOJ, which is the Department of Justice, said she submitted a fraudulent document in response to a subpoena to make it appear the Chrisleys had not lied to the bank when they transferred ownership of the company's bank account to Todd Chrisley's mother. And I understand that the mother's name is Faye. I believe her name is Faye Chrisley. I'm not sure. I believe that. Okay, so as today's outcome shows, when you lie, cheat, and steal, justice is blind as to your fame. I don't know about that. Just hold up. Your fortune. I don't know about that. Hold up. And your position. I don't know about that. Hold up. Carrie Farley, special agent in charge of FBI Atlanta, said, in the end, when driven by greed, the verdict of guilty on all counts for these three defendants proves once again that financial crimes do not pay. So the three defendants would be Todd Chrisley, Julie Chrisley, and Peter Tarantino, I believe. After they were found guilty, U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross allowed the Chrisleys to remain free on bond. So here's the question, Secure Entrepreneurs. The average individual, do you think that they would have been allowed to remain free on bond? I don't know. But she placed them on location monitoring and home detention. So this is fluffy, meaning they can only leave the house for certain reasons, including work, medical appointments, and court appearances. They also have to alert their probation officers they're on probation, you all, okay? When they spend more than $1,000. Now, that's a lot, because you can definitely spend $1,000 a day, pay a few bills, go to the supermarket. I mean, you can spend $1,000 a day, okay? According to the order entered on Tuesday, Bruce Morris, an attorney for Todd Chrisley, said he was disappointed with the verdict and expects to appeal. Of course, you better appeal, okay? The Chrisleys and Tarantino are scheduled to be sentenced Thursday, October 6th at 9 a.m. I want to say, before I get to the last paragraph, because this is where we're about to go in this conversation. Now, how this whole thing got started. And this is the precautionary tale. This Mark Broderick claims that he was a business partner of Todd Chrisley. He also alleged that he and Todd Chrisley were having a love affair for over a year, and actually paid somebody like $38,000, something like either 28 or 38. This is what the documents say, okay? $28,000 or $38,000 to be quiet about it. So he claims that he has been in this love affair and he was a partner of Chrisley. Now, obviously, when Chrisley decides he doesn't want anything to do with him anymore, he fires this man. So Mark Broderick goes to the government and says, I have information about the Chrisleys committing all types of fraud and I want to report it. So what happens? Mark Broderick then gets immunity from the government to tell what he knew about the Chrisleys committing fraud. So that's how this whole thing jumped off. I want the security entrepreneurs to be very clear about this. Now, I looked at the photographs of the man. I watched some clips. Do I believe that something could have happened between him and this man? Sure. He's got a Southern drawl and a Southern flair, but he could be, you know, that type of man that likes to have his cake and eat it too. And so then this Mark Broderick, like, you know, that's a lover scorn. It sounded to me like a lover scorn, right? Okay, now I'm mad, I'm upset, you dumped me and you fired me. Okay, because what Mark Broderick has admitted to clearly is that he was a part of a lot of the fraud that took place, which is why he could stand there and report it, but he got immunity. Okay, that was in 2012. So this investigation went on for 7 years, right? Okay, so here's the other thing, because the woman is up there saying, well, let's go back. She said, oh, justice is blind to your fame, your fortune, and your position. I don't know about that, because the channel that they're on, E, recently announced that it's moving forward with a new dating series called Love Limo, hosted by Todd Chrisley. Additionally, reality shows Chrisley Knows Best and its spinoff Growing Up Chrisley, featuring Chrisley kids Chase and Savannah in Los Angeles, have been renewed on USA Network and E. Okay, so you know, clearly this couple and the family are profitable for E and for USA Network, despite whatever they're being accused of. And yes, of course, there will be an appeal, because how many of you know people will perjure themselves? People will story on you when they're jealous, envious, they don't like you, okay? Things like that do happen. And the government had 12 witnesses, including 2 FBI agents, okay? They really bought it. But the problem really comes in that they had the evidence that the Chrisleys did falsify documents. Now, I want to say something. Some of you asked about, okay, the wire fraud, okay? This is very interesting, because the government produced evidence that Mark Broderick produced emails where he's telling Todd Chrisley that they don't have enough money to qualify for these particular loans, all of this. Todd Chrisley writes him back, hey, listen, just make the document look like $4 million. Just make it look like $4 million. So Mark Broderick goes forward to create a false Merrill Lynch document to state that Todd Chrisley had $4 million in a Merrill Lynch account, but that was false. He did not have an account with Merrill Lynch. And in fact, he didn't have an account with Merrill Lynch until a year later, okay? And the most he had in that account was $17,000, okay? Then Mark Broderick was able to produce another email where Todd Chrisley is asking him to falsify some documents, and if he couldn't do it, he named a person. I don't know who the person was. Get that person's crooked accountant to do it if you can't do it, okay? But Mark Broderick did whatever he asked, and Todd Chrisley's telling him that he's a genius, all these things. So see, you got to be very careful what you are communicating with people that you think you can trust, okay? Because Mark Broderick brought all these emails to the surface, okay? And how many of you know you can delete all you want? That email is somewhere. Somebody has it. And when you least expect it, it will show up and be used against you, okay? So see, this is a case of these individuals have been given enough rope to hang themselves, okay? Now, Todd Chrisley's attorney says that this alleged affair between him and Mark Broderick is false. It is not true. And Mark Broderick did admit that, yes, he wanted revenge, okay? He wanted revenge, which is why he is doing these things. So I'm like, you can't get around the false documentation, like the evidence is there, and you really can't get around the false loans and the fact that they did not qualify for any of the loans that they received, which is why this is fraudulent. You did not qualify for the loan. You got the loan, you repaid some loans, and then you just decided to go ahead and file bankruptcy. Again, let Mr. Aurorah just make this very clear, because I'm not judging any of these people, because like I just said, people do this all the time. There's so much fraud in this country. I can only talk about this country because I'm a citizen of this country. I live in this country. So I'm going to talk about this country. There's so much fraud going on in this country, so much financial fraud going on in this country. These individuals didn't just make this stuff up, okay? These are things that are being done. It just so happens that there's a scorned individual in the mix. There's a Judas in the mix, and he decided that he wanted to blow the whistle, okay? So that's the deal with the fraud, the wire fraud, and the tax evasion. Remember that Mr. Aurorah always tells you, security entrepreneurs, that you can legally avoid taxation, but you cannot legally evade taxation. Mr. Chrisley obviously was collecting money in his name. He was paying himself, and he did not pay the tax. And then he blew it up on himself by saying on a radio show that he did pay taxes when he really did not pay taxes. And most of the security entrepreneurs who work with Aurorah Dey Consulting already know how she feels about all these people who like to come out here and say, pay your taxes. They're not paying any taxes. All these people who like to come to the forefront and say, well, put aside money to pay your taxes. They are not paying taxes. And if they are, it's ridiculous, okay? Because we already know that the number one mistake is having things in your name, collecting money in your name. No, you creating taxable events. Now, if you create taxable events, yes, you will have to pay the tax. That's just it. When you do not create taxable events, then you don't have to worry about any of this. So this really surprised me that these individuals even are having such low vibration with all the success that they're having, because, okay, failed to pay any taxes 2013, 14, 15, 16. I don't know if that's true. Okay, I don't know if that's true. But if in fact all these years this individual was creating taxable events, what was the reason why there was no filing and there was no payments? Okay, when you came out and said $750,000 to $1 million, maybe you did have the money. I don't know, but this is another cautionary tale of all that glitters is not gold. We see all these people on these reality shows and all that looking real good. Half that stuff is being given to them by the network or celebrities or companies that want them to support their products. That's publicity for their products, all that stuff like that. It's not really happening the way that people think that it's happening. Okay, so now you see these people were not really earning any real money. If you felt like you had to go and get these loans and defraud, and with the loans you were buying all this stuff, you weren't earning that money. Okay, your company was not making any money like that to do that. Okay, so just be aware, secured entrepreneurs, that this is going on all the time, and you have to make your company profitable so that you do not need to go to a bank and falsify documents and get yourself some money. And I'm not, once again, that's not a judgment, because like I said, there's a whole lot of fraud happening, and some people are just really oblivious to the consequences simply because this is what so-and-so is doing, and so-and-so introduced you to doing it this way, and so you're doing it. Okay, so sometimes it's not a malicious thing that people are doing. It's keeping up with the Joneses, following the crowd, taking bad advice. So we have to be very, very, very careful that we don't make these mistakes willfully. All right, do your investigation and continue to follow what's really happening to people and understand the case as it truly is. All right, not just what's being written here on the surface. And once again, like I pointed out, understand this also. None of this would have came to the surface. They would have been doing all of what they wanted to do and all this stuff. had this Mark Broderick not blew the whistle. So that's saying something. Okay, so you already know, Miss Aurorah. You can find me at AurorahDayConsulting.com. And until next time, ta-ta.